Okay, so welcome back to our lessons for Earth and Life Sciences. And we are now on our quarter 2, lesson 5, which is all about the DNA and central dogma in biology. So we are done with our lesson number 4, which is all about plant and animal reproduction. So for this topic, or for this lesson, we are going to have the following learning competency. Explain how the information in the DNA allow the transfer of genetic information and synthesis of proteins. So we are going to talk about today the DNA and later on the central dogma in biology. So we are going to start with our main character for today's lesson, which is all about the DNA. Now, what does the DNA stands for? It stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So that is the meaning of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. So the DNA is a molecule that contains the instructions an organism needs to develop, live, and reproduce. So kaning DNA diri naka-encode ang unsa ang atong main characteristics ug many other things actually, and we are going to understand DNA more on the next slides. So let's start first with knowing what the DNA looks like. So the DNA, or the characteristics of the DNA, starts with number 1. It is made up of nucleotides. So ang building blocks sa ato ang DNA molecule, no, kay gitawag na siya nga nucleotides. So kada isa ka nucleotide mo ni siya ang iyang composition na ay tulo ka parts. The first part is what we call the phosphate group. The second part is what we call the sugar. In this case, since this is a DNA molecule, ang sugar nga naa sa DNA is what we call the deoxyribose. Mo po na gani siyang reason nganong deoxyribonucleic acid na siya, because we have two types of nucleic acids, the DNA and the RNA. So ang DNA, ang kalahian niya is, isa sa mga kalahian niya is iyang sugar, no? So ang sugar sa DNA is deoxyribose, whereas sa RNA is ribose. Mo na siya gitawag ang RNA as ribonucleic acid. So another part of the nucleotide is the nitrogenous base. No, so in this case, this is adenine. So natay two types of nitrogenous base, the purines and the pyrimidines. So ako na siyang ikuan later on. So kaning phosphate group, sugar, and nitrogenous base constitutes your nucleotides. And if we are going to combine all of these, no, mo na ni siya ang formation sa tong DNA molecule. So this is your phosphate group attached to your sugar molecule, and then combined, ang tawag nila ani is the sugar phosphate backbone. So mo ni siya ang backbone sa ato ang DNA, and in between are your nucleotides. So not nucleotides but the nitrogenous base, and the nitrogenous bases are joined together by hydrogen bonds. So let's dig in deeper into the 4 types of nitrogenous bases. So nung ko ganina na siya duhagad kami nga general nga types, the purines and the pyrimidines. So ang purines are the double ringed, no, duha ang iyang ring, whereas the pyrimidine kay na siya is single ring kani siya. So ang purines kay either guanine or adenine. Pyrimidines are either cytosine and thymine. So this is when it comes to DNA. Pero pag natay RNA, no, natay isa din ka nitrogenous base, it's called uracil. So ang pyrimidine kay tulog gini siya, cytosine, uracil, and thymine. Para mas dali ko siya gina-memorize, no, purinag. So nag or ag means adenine and guanine. Sa pyrimidines kay pyrimicate. So pyrimidines, cut stands for C, cytosine, U, uracil, and T for thymine. So, ato lang timan-an ang base pairing. No, always na siya nga si adenine nakabind kay thymine in what? In a DNA molecule. Pero kung RNA siya, si adenine nakabind siya or nakabond siya with your uracil. Timan lang na ha. Tapos, sa isa pa pair, ang cytosine, kay pair siya permanente with your guanine. So, again, A and T and C and G. So, yung kanina, kaning mga dashed lines diri, mo ni siya ang ato ang hydrogen bonds. So, in this case, ang imuhang oxygen nakabond siya sa imong hydrogen, and here we have the nitrogen bonded to your hydrogen. So mo na siya ang H bonds or hydrogen bonds. Another characteristic of the DNA molecule is that its form is double helix. It looks like a twisted ladder. The phosphate and the sugar molecules would be the sides, while the base would be the rungs or the steps. No, so kani siyang nasa gawas outer part, mura siya kanang gunitan bitaw sa twisted nga ladder or kanang hagdanan, no? So ang nasa gawas nga part mo na siya ang ato ang sugar phosphate backbone. Ang kanang tamakan na nato mo na siya ang imong mga nitrogenous base. Another basic characteristic sa DNA molecule is anti-parallel siya, no? Anti-parallel strands. The two strands are oriented in opposite directions. So kung ato gini siyang tan-awon og maayo, ang isa ka strand is nasa 3' to 5' direction, whereas ang iyang kapares is opposite, 5' to 3' direction. Mo na siya ang tawag sa anti-parallel strands or anti-parallelism. So, muna siya isa characteristic sa DNA molecule.